Hi, everybody. Welcome back for another fabulous virtual tasting with Becker Vineyards. We're so glad you guys are joining us. I hope everybody is getting started with a fantastic holiday weekend. Happy 4th of July weekend to everyone as well. Tonight, we are going to be trying the 2015 Primavera. It's one of our La Quattro Stagioni wines in that series, and it's only available for our wine club members. So we're very excited to have been able to offer this out to everybody. Hope everybody took advantage of that. This one is actually all Merlot as well. It's not a blend, and all from the Reddy Vineyard up in the Texas High Plains. So we've got a lot of guests to discuss this wine with you on a fabulous Food Friday. It's a holiday as well. We have Will Becker with us once again, all the way from Massachusetts. We have our winemaker, John Leahy. And once again, we have our general manager, Bret. We may have a guest from the Reddy Vineyard joining us as well. So stay tuned. I'm going to turn it over to the guys to get everybody started. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, Rebecca. A great intro again. Thank you for that. And will we see you at the end of the broadcast so that we can ask you questions?
Oh, no. I will be back on Monday, sir.
Okay. We'll see you on Monday. Have a fabulous 4th of July weekend. And I believe one of the Doctors Reddies are with us. Akhil, did I see you sneak in here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, guys. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we also have Will Becker with us checking in from the East Coast. Will, welcome.
It's great to be here. Thanks a lot for having me back.
Would you like to carry on the Becker tradition and lead us in with a couple of words of greeting?
I would love to. I think that this has been such an incredibly tough stretch for the country. And I think Massachusetts, where I am, got crushed by this pandemic in a way that I think Texas is beginning to experience now. And it's just a really hard time. And so I appreciate everybody taking the time and come and spend some time with us and hopefully, get a little bit of a break from a really, really tough reality right now. But I appreciate everybody coming out and joining us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's our goal to offer a little bit of levity and a little bit of break for everyone in this. And of course, I can't forget Bret, our general manager. Bret is standing by at his grill, and he accused me of chickening out because I was supposed to be down by my pool deck and grilling. I literally, when I did get the internet down there, it was 102 degrees outside. And I'm like, no, I'm going inside. So yes, I did chicken out.
How hot do you think it is at my house? It's still 102.
Yeah, you probably got one of those fancy misters under there. So what are you cooking tonight, Bret?
Oh, I just have hamburgers. It's kind of plain simple for 4th of July around here. We're having steaks for real tomorrow, but not tonight.
Right on. Well, Akhil, I want to jump right into the vineyard, and if your dad joins us later, we'll give him a whole ration of hard questions. But
my dad is out partying right now, so he said I need to take over.
Yeah. All right. So, he's out fishing. I want to talk about the clonal varietals on the Merlot. What clones are you growing? So we're going to introduce everybody. I want you to think about it. Give me 10 seconds and we'll get right into it. But I just want everybody to swirl, sniff, and taste the 2015 as they're joining us. Oh man, mine's been decanted now for about 45 minutes. And it's smelling great. Yeah. So 2015 was for me was a really good watershed moment for the Reddy Vineyard on the Merlot. And in 2012 we certainly incorporated the Reddy Vineyards in the revitalization of the La Quattro Stagioni, but we wanted to do a vineyard designate. And thank you for going along with that and letting us put the name on there, because this really, to me, displays some incredible fruit. And this is a good example of the fruit that you guys grow. As far as I'm concerned, it's an excellent example of great fruit. So lead us into, talk to us about the Merlot in the vineyard.
Sounds good. This block that the Becker and you guys contract for I believe you've been taking it for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of shows the commitment and dedication that your team takes in crafting the style of wine that you want, because you've given us a lot of good feedback over the years. I believe this is block 11 is about 15 years old.
Mhm.
So if anyone comes to visit those vines, they're thick trunks and very established vines. Typically, the production that we try to shoot for is only 2 to 4 tons per acre. So it's a highly specialized block, giving out bricks anywhere from 25 to even 30 bricks, which is a lot. And I'm not sure, John, do you remember what the bricks was on 2015?
Yeah, 2015 was a little on the high side. So we're floating at I think we were floating around 26 to 26 and a half on part of that. We had 2 different pickings on the Merlot, and I think the highest one was a little over 26. So, but it wasn't damaged. I mean, the turgor was still in the berry. It looked beautiful,
Yeah.
but that flavor was just incredible. So I'm going to take a break from the vineyard. I want to get back to Will before we give Bret any more grief about decorating. I have never seen the man wear a necklace. He's turning into a hippie. So Will, what are your impressions through the years with the one with the Reddy Vineyard, but specifically too, what are you getting out of this particular wine?
So I think that Merlot in Texas does really well. I think it loves the heat, and I think the characteristics that we get are a big, full, round Merlot, and this is a great example of that. The nose for me is there's an earthiness and a little bit of cedar. My father used to buy cigars, and he would go into like cigar stores, and you'd walk into that cedar cigar room, and it's not a heavy cedar, but there's just a hint of cedar over the earthiness, and then there's just tremendous jammy fruit, sort of a dark red fruit in there, and it's fabulous with the earthy cedar nose, and then a little bit of vanilla, and then on maybe a stewed strawberry, but darker notes as well. I think this is a beautiful expression of Merlot, and it's really showing what Texas can do. I know that we take a lot of pride in working with the best growers in the state, and we are super excited that we get to use fruit from the Reddy Vineyard every year. And this is a wonderful expression of what Merlot can do and what it's doing in their vineyard. So, but for me,
I agree.
Earthy cedar, vanilla, and then jam on the nose, and then sort of a dark red note, maybe a stewed strawberry on the palate. But I love it.
Yeah, I am getting, you say that that cedar from a humidor. I've got the one thing I've noticed about wine and really good aged tobacco, they have a very similar upfront nose. And I've got a few cigars in my humidor that the tobacco leaves were barrel aged for 6 years before rolling. And it really has that deep cedar and earthiness to it. And it's exactly like this Merlot, which is wonderful.
It's beautiful.
So Akhil, so what are you getting out of that wine?
There's a hint of smooth espresso, or like a touch of caramel to it too. So that ties in really well with the tobacco flavor and that just intense fruit, which I love. These are the style wines that I really love. That's why I bought a couple cases from Bret a few years ago at Becker Vineyards.
Wait a minute, he charged you?
Bret didn't even give me a discount. Bret, he knows how to run a business.
Right.
That's why Bret's in charge.
That sounds exactly like Bret. So Bret, what are you getting on the nose? And out of
I smell the expensive barrels that we wrote a check for. On that note,
Exactly.
But I think that the nose on this is crazy, and I've got it in a Veritas cab glass real tonight.
Yeah, I've got the old one with the narrow top.
Yeah, so this is the one with a little bit thicker. Look at the stem on this one. This is the restaurant series.
Yep.
So you can always tell with the restaurant series about how thick that stem is most of the time. But again, I think it's still like really thin on the top. And if you ask them, it's just millimeters, like thicker for the restaurant versus the regular one. But I really am picking up the barrel on this a lot. And I can't remember, was it in American oak?
Most of it was in American oak. Actually, with this
American
particular vineyard, I've always felt that Merlot and really well-aged American oak were made for each other. So yeah, we put a little bit more new oak on the Reddy Merlot in 2015. I think that 2015 was also the year that we kind of increased our new oak purchasing, so we had a little more to play with on there. and I don't mean to be flippant about it. I mean, we really did want some elevated oak notes, those toasted notes on there. We knew we were going to keep that Merlot in barrel for quite some time. So one, Will, Trish asked, are you green screening the Becker cellar behind you? Is that?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Oh, hey, great question. Actually, back to Dr. Reddy. Notice, Akhil, I'm now using your official term. So as a man who deals with dentistry, how do you keep your teeth white when you're a red wine drinker?
That's a great question. If you can't brush, I say just take a wet napkin, wipe around when you're out and about, and that does the job. But honestly, standard home care takes care of it. When you're using fluoride toothpaste and keeping your enamel healthy, it fills in those pores and it causes less, interaction with the red or dyed foods or red wine. Mm-hmm. So basically, the stronger your teeth are and the harder they are, the less they'll get stained.
Fantastic.
Or you can come to Dallas for some teeth whitening.
Plug advertisement here. Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, I was actually curious because I, outside of just the normal brushing, I'm like, I know there's a lot of acids in wine. So that can be good for the channel. And I'm not a dentist. I just play one on YouTube. So back to the vineyard. So what have you noticed over the years in the differences with this Merlot? Have you noticed anything spectacular, or has it been a pretty steady producer? What as a grower?
This Merlot has been pretty consistent. And like Will was saying, Merlot in Texas does really well. I'm actually not sure what this clone is because it's 15 years old and I was pretty young back then. But it is 1103P stock, and it's on VSP, vertical shoot positioning trellis system. And I believe 6 or 7 years ago, we erased the last wire. And I think that also definitely impacted the flavors that you're tasting. Mm-hmm. So we do some shoot thinning and leaf pulling, and we try to get a little more airflow into the fruit zone. Mm-hmm. And so that will get a little less of those vegetal characteristics that you may find in Merlot or a Cabernet Franc or a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah, very, very true. And there is a huge difference. I mean, there's some nice dark notes that your Cab and your Merlot share together, but that Cabernet that you guys do is spectacular. But this Merlot is just, that velvet is lights out great. So Bret, we just got a comment saying that at least you're a patriotic hippie. I don't think.
Well, did you tell him this was supposed to be your stuff that you forgot?
Tell Chris I walked right by that box, and I am so sorry. She put it all together, and I was supposed. Please don't have her point the finger at me, though. That scares me.
We have a tradition that, I mean, obviously we're not having the parades in Fredericksburg this year, but there's been a tradition in our family for about 15 years to go hang out with the Watson family. And Bobby gave us these beads, and so every 4th of July weekend, we kind of wear them the whole weekend, and it's been fun, and we're going to miss that this year for sure. But
yes, absolutely. So somebody just asked the alcohol content on the wine. Yes, it is 14.5%, but if you take another taste and the balance, it is not. I don't think, me personally, I don't get the heat of a higher alcohol wine when I first take a sip. What do you guys think?
No.
Akhil, what do you think, Akhil? Is it balanced to you? Is it disjointed? What's your opinion as far as that goes?
Honestly, it's very balanced. It tastes more like a 13 or 13.5. Mm-hmm. And it's just overall a very smooth, easy drinking wine, even though it has so many bold characteristics. Mm-hmm. How did this taste? Just curious, how did this taste year one? So this is a 2015. How did it taste in 16 and 17 versus now?
Well, one of the hardest things to learn to do is taste green wine, to be honest with you. And I've been doing it a long time, and I'm still takes me aback. It's like, it's just gonna on the right track, because it is so disjointed when it's young. When it hits about a year old, you start to see some of the future maturity in there. You'll get hints of it. At year one, it was not hot. And when we ran the alcohols post malolactic fermentation, And then we will run alcohols every once in a while to make sure we're not oxidizing alcohol and losing it, because that can be an indicator of an issue in the barrel. But the alcohol kept coming up at about 14.5 to 14.7, on the biliometer. And it's like, that just, there's no way straight out of the barrel at 14.5 to 14.7 that wine is not hot. And it had enough acid in it, the maturity on grape skins. This was also, this particular wine, we used one of my favorite yeasts on yeast combinations. And then we also, post-fermentation, we let it sit on skins for quite some time. So we got a lot of good extraction out of there. And that helps in that balance. So the first thing that you notice out of the nose is the fruit, or those earthy notes. The second thing you're going to notice is the alcohol when you take a sip on the retronasal. That's when you'll start to see if it's hot or not. And I'm not getting that. And it really is kind of amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and Garrett, there's a smart aleck that we have here on our Facebook feed. He goes, "Yep, I'm getting a 13.512 alcohol." He's like, "Okay, buddy." So yeah, we talk in rather obscure terms, but apparently Dr. Reddy has an biliometer built in. So, but yeah, it really wasn't that hot. So Bret, can we see what you're actually cooking? Because somebody's sitting here saying that you're not really cooking.
Oh yes, it's got burgers on the grill.
Okay.
I mean, I'll make it smoke if they want to see it smoke, but
Yeah, exactly. Now, do you splash a little wine on the burger to keep it moist?
yeah, and then I usually don't eat them because I'm not a fan of hamburgers. So.
Oh, that's funny.
Bret always has the best tan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, even better than myself. But
Yeah,
Okay.
The other Dr. Becker gets on to me for that. Emily.
okay.
Yeah.
The one day we have another doctor on, we have so many Becker doctors that we couldn't get one of them we couldn't do doctors. Like, had to go to the Chabot Mouton, the black sheep. So
Yeah. But,
well.
the Chevauche. Hey, that's a
what
great name for a wine. That's
The
better
black
than
sheep.
Unk de Calmar.
That is really good.
That is. I like that.
How's it smell? Yeah.
Okay, so I want to, excuse me, I'm getting to that bad habit. I want to go over the blend here. We're getting some questions. So the blend that we have is 96% Reddy Vineyards Merlot. Okay, and then we have 2% Bingham Cab Franc and 2% Talent Vineyards Petit Verdot in here. So overwhelming majority, 96% from the Reddy Vineyards. That 2% on each of those two, very, very little gallon wise. If I'm gonna look over here at the total gallons, so we're talking a couple of barrels each of the other two, and that was put in there just enough to kind of round out the edges. So Merlot is very velvety. It can be very, very smooth on the palate, but sometimes it releases too quick on the back of the palate. So you want something for that carry through. And I think that both the Cab Franc and the Petit Verdot added nicely to that without overwhelming. I did not want to lose any of the characteristics of the Merlot. I just wanted to extend that length in the back palate, in the mid palate.
So I have a question for you, John. So I've sat in a lot of whenever I'm home, Dad always tries to schedule a tasting, which I greatly appreciate. I don't know if we've made a red wine without Petit Verdot. Is that you or my dad? And is it for the reason you just stated, that the way it rounds out the full palate? So can you talk about Petit Verdot's presence in our wines?
I am so sorry that you couldn't be in some of our Saturday meetings, because there are meetings where it's all about, I think it needs more Petit Verdot. I'm like, no, every damn thing's got Petit Verdot in it. This one's not going to have it. I mean, it's back and forth. Sometimes it's me, sometimes it's Doc. And then, and now sometimes it's Dr. Joe Becker. Oh, I think Petit Verdot would go great. I was like, oh, for the love of God, I'm going to go crazy. I got it in stereo. No,
I have one more question. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say, not fair to Petit Verdot, but Petit Verdot does a really beautiful job with the Bordeaux. It blends nicely in the background and offers a lot of fill-in these little tiny gaps. Sometimes the fill-in isn't needed. I'm overthinking things sometimes, because I'm literally tasting for faults, not just to enjoy a glass of wine, where somebody else could sip and say, hey, this is a great wine. What do you mean you've got to do something else to it? And it's like, it's just a tweak.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Will. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
So this is sort of a long question. So in 92 we planted, in 95 we harvested, made our first vintages, and that's when I really started paying attention to wine. And Cabernet has always been Cabernet, but Merlot was right there with it, and right behind it in terms of, you know, name recognition. And then in 05 the movie Sideways comes out and just derails Merlot. And this, you know, there's this great scene. Whoops, wrong one. There's this great scene where if anybody orders Merlot, I'm leaving. And then Merlot got crushed. I think about Duckhorn out in Napa. You were probably out in Napa in 05. And but my father, you know, we have this Four Seasons because, you know, my father loves what Merlot does in Texas soil, and the Reddy Vineyard Merlot is phenomenal. And we have these beautiful expressions of Merlot. Has Merlot come back? What was it like in 05 in Napa when that movie crushed Merlot?
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. First of all, the irony of that entire scene and that entire movie is Paul's character, his favorite bottle of wine is a Cheval Blanc, and he carries it around, and that is a Merlot wine. Okay. That's the thing. His favorite bottle is this Cheval Blanc, and it's a Merlot and Cab Franc blend. So that was lost on most people. In the wine industry, everybody was laughing. They're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever, buddy. But yes, it did hurt Merlot's sales as straight Merlot, but Merlot never left, because Merlot's used every single one of those beautiful, bold, big Cabernets that you love in Napa. Quite a few of them have Merlot in there, you know, in the background. And somebody just pointed out that I may have gotten my blending wrong. So I apologize if I did. I'll have to go back and look. You know, don't ever trust an Irish winemaker on the 4th of July to get the memory correct on the blend on there. So, but yes, to the question earlier about 95%, yes, it is a minimum of 95% to be a vineyard designate. So if that helps answer that question. But anyway, yeah, Merlot has certainly come back. I don't think it ever really left. I think it took a dip for a year or two, Will, but I didn't see the difference anyway, personally. Okay. So,
and I think the reason why we brought the Quattro Stagioni back, we talked about this a lot in the previous, you know, the vintages from the 12 vintage specifically. We had such great Merlots from all of our growers.
Right.
We didn't want to just dump them in a tank and call it this Merlot, and that's how this Primavera, the spring version of the Four Seasons came to be. So.
Well, yeah, and Akhil, you know, in 2012 we did use the Reddy Merlot in the La Quattro, but we were blending it with so many other things. We never made I don't believe any of the 12 were a vineyard designate, because I was highlighting Merlots from one vineyard with other blenders from other vineyards to elevate that Merlot. So that was the impetus behind that, was this Merlot and Jet Wilmoth's Merlot. These two were the impetus behind bringing back that La Quattro Stagioni labels for the Merlots. So so we're getting to that point where I've been bloviating long enough and trying to be funny. We've got to get to Food Friday. So we obviously know that you're going to choose hamburgers, Bret, even though you're going to say tenderloin.
I'm going to eat tenderloin. Everybody else in the house is eating hamburgers, but
okay, well, that's fine. I have a food thing, but I want everybody to go first. Oh, look at that! It's awesome. I love that caprese.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a nice salad.
Homegrown tomatoes too, right?
Sweet. Yeah. What about the basil?
Homegrown basil too.
Yeah. Now, did you squeeze the olive oil?
He did.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. So, Akhil, what would you choose to serve with this wine?
You know, this wine is honestly could be served with a wine glass. It's so smooth, and it's just an easy drinker. Sometimes, you know, I'll just have this by itself.
Yep.
But it's versatile. So, I would love it with a lamb chop, or even just some prosciutto and manchego cheese.
Right.
But this is a very versatile wine, which is one of my favorites.
Perfect. Will, what are your choices?
So we had it last night, and again, tonight, but we had a bottle last night. A friend who'd been on Long Island brought a bottle of Long Island Merlot, and we had this along with it, and we had cheese trays and totally different expressions of Merlot, but it was fabulous just drinking with a great cheese tray my wife put together. And then tonight I grilled burgers, and it was great.
Fantastic.
It was great.
Yeah.
This is so big and bold that it would be great with the steak too. So
I two things I like with this Merlot. One, I love chocolate chip cookies with the 2015 Primavera. It's I just think Merlot and chocolate go together very well. Two, I'm actually gonna hop off on the beef bandwagon. This Merlot does so very well with a nice steak, just a very simple steak on the grill. But in keeping with the spirit of things, so do you remember the Muscat Chenin we tried a while back? My wonderful wife Jody made palitas with that Muscat Chenin. She made a coconut lime palitas, and I took some and made a sorbet, and I'm making a little cocktail with sparkling water out of that. So this is wine, and it counts as food. So cheers everybody for your cocktail. You could use that. But I think with this particular red wine though, if you're not a big chocolate fan or you're not a big dessert fan, try it. Just try it out. A nice dry red wine with dessert does very, very well. So, okay. Any other final words of wisdom? Any great questions here? Oh, somebody said it goes great with lasagna, which you're absolutely right, it would, or wood-fired pizza. So beyond that, we've covered everything. I think we got a little more technical tonight. I apologize if it was too geeky for people. But Akhil, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule, sir, and joining us.
Yeah, guys, it was fun.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I want everybody out there. So Will, also thanks for joining us and taking time away from the family. We appreciate it.
my pleasure.
Tell everybody we said hello and give them a big hug. And then for everybody out there, we want you to have a safe 4th of July. Enjoy your 4th of July.
Don't forget about next week.
Next week, we will. So next week for everybody, so I don't get in trouble with the general manager. Next week, we have our 2012 series. On Monday is the 2012 Primavera Merlot, which was one of the original La Quattro Stagioni revitalized labels. Wednesday, we're doing the 2012 Estate Merlot. And on Friday, we're doing the Wilmot Cab. So,
Do you see Will's new handle on his screen?
no, I didn't.
You got
There's nothing to see here.
John is a trophy. Oh, stop it, Will. Jesus. Okay, buddy, we're cutting you off. So, alrighty, guys, out there, everybody, would love to wish you a safe and happy holiday weekend. And remember, practice safe 6. I'm just masking for a friend.
There you go. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th. Cheers.
Happy 4th of July.
Bret.